From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MVW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Jeffrey Wright will join us here in a little bit as well on the show. A lot of Ole Miss football talk during that segment, so we'll get to that in a bit on the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. And we told you yesterday, and we'll tell you for a while, starting September 1st and running through Halloween, you can win free gas for a year. That sweepstakes through all Blue Sky locations in Mississippi, including the Oxford Exxon. You just got to register with the Exxon Mobile Rewards Plus program. We tell you about that every day. And then you use that card to fill up with at least 8 gallons. Every time you do that, you're automatically entered. And again, you can win free gas for a year from the Oxford Exxon. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. What you should do is get your quote and get your deal done and get into a Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll absolutely love the service during the sale, after the sale, long after the sale. Corey wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy, and he'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900.
So up on the site this morning at rebelgrove.com, if you haven't joined the discussion about the Chancellor stuff, that thread's still going. Neal's picks up this morning, as well as another Mind on My Money podcast that went up yesterday afternoon also. So those are the main things up at rebelgrove.com this morning. We'll get into Neal's picks a little bit because we did not do that with Jeffrey, but you can see the written version there on the site, and it is up. Captions pretty good again. Good job there.
A lot going on at Neal's picks.
A lot going on. You had to fire some interns. You had some stuff going on. So
we fired the head intern because there were some things happening, but we've promoted
from within
a new interim lead intern. So that's a mouthful. She's a local girl, so that's got a lot of support.
Okay. Southern Craft Stove and Tap, the sponsor of Neal's picks. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, you should go read it. It's funny. Like I said, a lot going on. A few things. So I just kind of laughed at this. We're gonna get to picks. I'm not, like I said, go to the board and read all the Chancellor stuff. There's really nothing new, but I do have some stuff there. We talked about it yesterday on the site. Clarion Ledger had a story this morning about potentially names in the running and the Ole Miss Chancellor thing, and I mean, I'm not, it's a subscription content, so I'm not going to give away in their stuff. However, if you've read my list, it's more updated than this. I will say this, though. I got a kick out of it, and it's kind of what Neal and I have been talking about, how there's so many different factors in play, and nobody really knows what to do here other than, hey, there's so many interests that they would like to be in this job, and there's so many things that they would like this person to have, instead of, hey, just go find the best candidate. And I know that's a novel concept, apparently, at times. So I think it's Jeff Pender. He leads like this. I laughed. He said, help wanted someone who's politically conservative, yet academically progressive. Someone steeped in Ole Miss tradition, but worldly enough to move the school beyond its troubled history. Someone who could schmooze wealthy alumni and get them to open their pocketbooks, but also make the school welcoming to diverse faculty and students. Oh yes, the preferred candidate must be knowledgeable about athletics, particularly SEC football, and how to hire the right athletic director to maintain a winning program. Finding the right new Ole Miss Chancellor is a tall order. One might wonder whether a person who checked all the competing boxes would just walk in small circles around campus talking to themselves.
Fair point.
When you read the list of what they want in a person, it is a fair point. It makes me laugh. So, anyway, I don't know. I had to find something to pick my mood up this morning, and that's what I saw. So
it's the guy that's out looking for the. He wants the smartest girl. He really wants her to be funny. He wants her to be incredibly well read. He also would love it if she were a big sports fan. If she liked to hang out at the bar and eat wings and drink beer. And, oh, could she please look like a supermodel as well? And if she has all of that, I need her to date me.
Can she like sports? That'd be great.
Yeah.
But not so much that I don't get my guys' nights too.
Yeah.
More tolerable of it, really.
Right. Just where she wants to sit with me and watch them.
Yeah.
But when I go out, I'd really like it if will she share her location with me at all times? I mean, there's just a lot there. You're asking for a lot.
And contradictory at that.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's, again, join the conversation, rebelgrove.com, ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them. We sucked at Neal's picks last week. We've pointed that out. Neal and myself, 3-6. Jeffrey and Zach, 4-5. Those numbers against the spread. Neal did go 7-2 overall. I was 6-3 overall. And then for the season, Neal 1 game under. I am even, and Jeffrey and Zach are two over, so 1 game up in the standings. There's that. So
yeah.
We start off with Texas A&M and Arkansas, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, 11 a.m. ESPN. And unless you're just really wanting to go to the Metroplex, I have a hard time believing many Arkansas fans are going to go across state lines for this bad boy.
I know one who's going.
Do you?
Yep.
Well, but with zero interest in the outcome of the football game whatsoever.
No, she'll be at the football game long enough to do an Instagram photo.
Okay.
Lots of Instagram photos, and then they'll be out.
I do worry about society, how we never experience any moments. We take pictures of moments instead of experiencing moments.
Oh, believe me.
It drives me insane. It seriously drives me insane.
Everything is just photos.
But no, like you never experience anything. We are losing memories because there are no memories. The memory is of holding a camera up to take the photo to show it to someone else.
Yes.
There's no memory.
Agreed.
I mean, go back and I get this is whatever, it's kind of whatever my thing, but go look at golf tournaments from like 1996. Dude's just watching the golf. Tiger Woods comes through, not 96, but whatever. Phil Mickelson comes through, and they're watching the shot. They're watching this. They're wherever. Now, everybody's holding their phones up to video Phil Mickelson taking the shot and then put it up. They're not actually watching the freaking shot. It's why for 1 week, frankly, we talk about this every April. It's why I like Augusta so much. There's a lot I don't like. There's no cell phones. It looks like people are actually just at the freaking event. That's what I like.
I'm with you.
I don't know why I got on this little bit of it. It hit a little button for me. So
watch the baseball playoffs. Like in the penultimate moments when they show the crowd shots, everyone's holding their phone, and most people are watching what they're filming on their phone to make sure they're filming it right. They're not even watching the big moment.
It has become more important to let people know you're at the big moment than actually experience the big moment.
Agreed.
So I can tell I'm getting a little older because I'm becoming more annoyed with social media by the day.
You get a little more conservative every day. You get a little more annoyed by social media every day.
I know.
You question how come so much of your money goes to taxes every day. You drive by people who are able-bodied just sitting outside going, I'm paying for you, damn it. Get up and do something. And then you have your old man moment.
Yeah. Go at the cloud a little bit and move on with your day, right?
Yeah, it's just... Or you get like me where you're like, I can't control any of it, screw it. And you just...
There's some serenity that comes with that, probably, isn't there?
Here's the fascinating thing. If you had told me 10 years ago that the president of the United States would be in the middle of a scandal where the Democrats are trying to impeach him, and that I just don't care. I haven't clicked the news on in weeks. Not proud of this, but it is what it is. I can't control it. Whatever. Serenity.
So, back to football. 11 a.m. ESPN for this one. They get the big network for A&M and Arkansas.
Yeah.
By principle, I cannot pick Arkansas to cover any line no matter what after losing to San Jose State, and it appears we're all on that train, no one taking the Razorbacks to hang with the Aggies.
I thought Jeffrey took the points.
Oh, did he? Oh, sorry, he did just get inside the line. Sorry, 38-17 is not a cover. I apologize. I just assumed.
Well, and I thought about it because it's a lot of points, and I'm not convinced A&M's offense is good. But what I can't get past is sitting in Springdale on Saturday night at our hotel room. Late third quarter, Caroline went to take a shower, and so I poured myself a glass and turned on the game, and I was flipping between Georgia and Arkansas. Arkansas's bad. And now there's noise. There's real noise around that program.
Mm-hmm.
Real noise. The kind of noise that would kick up around Ole Miss if it loses next week. Real noise. And I just think that noise early in a season is distracting. I've been around those programs. You very rarely see a program experience noise like that in September and pull out of it. Usually you've started going down the hill and there's no catching it.
Northern Illinois plus 6.5 at Vanderbilt, 11 a.m. It's also at 11. SEC Network for this one. Got Neil and Zach taking the Commodores to cover that 6.5. Jeffrey and myself will take our 6.5 and bet against Vanderbilt. 83% of the money is on Vanderbilt per Jeffrey, and Vegas has not moved the line. They're just sticking it there and letting everybody bet on the Commodores.
Well, Northern Illinois played somebody last week and lost 44-8.
Okay.
I know. Who knows?
Sure. I said Vanderbilt scored 38 on LSU and still lost by almost 38.
Yeah. Well, LSU's legit now.
Offensively, they're really good.
I mean, if they were rolling into Oxford on Saturday, it would be scary time.
That's what's funny about this. Georgia is the prototypical SEC team. Alabama and LSU are run like Big 12 teams right now.
Right now they are, absolutely. Play just enough defense to get your offense
Turnover
back.
happy. You still got really a lot of athleticism on the edges and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Auburn and Georgia are your SEC teams.
Yes. Georgia is absolutely a prototypical SEC team.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're Alabama from 10 years ago when it was McCarron and McElroy and those guys.
a great example.
That's what
Just
they
like,
are.
just like them.
Yeah, it's
Like,
John Parker Wilson right now, coach at Georgia.
Yeah, I watch Fromm, and I think he's fine. He's solid. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he doesn't make a lot of plays either. It's okay. Kind of a gamer. Late in games, when the game's on the line, he tends to kind of ratchet it up just a little bit. But I never watch him and go, whoa, that kid, man, he's something else.
It gave you a chance to make a joke here. And I look, I get it's just football, and I get this happens between players all the time, so I don't want to be one of those fans. But that is kind of a bad look where Derek Mason looks like happy as a freaking lark out there joking around with Joe Burrow on the field.
I think
It's a little bit of a weird look.
It is. I think it's just Mason's a good guy.
He is. People feel bad when they beat up Derek Mason. Every week he's getting like this apology from the opposing head coach.
Yeah. I mean, even Orgeron was like, hey, great job. You did a great job. I know you do a great job. You do. If you had my player, you do a great job.
Yeah.
And he must be the guy that at the meetings is just funny and nice, and everybody likes him, and he's fun to be around and pleasant and all
He's
that
at
stuff.
Vanderbilt, so he's kind of a puppy.
Yeah, he's not going to beat you. He has no teeth. But he's cute and playful and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's good to be Joe Burrow right now.
Making some coin, man.
Big column in The Athletic talking about how the sweepstakes to replace Drew Brees is on two fronts, and the more important one might be in Baton Rouge.
I saw that.
Yeah.
He's the anti-Jake Fromm right now.
Yeah.
You watch him play, and you're like, whoa, look at that throw. Ooh. I mean, he is wowing.
So Ole Miss plus 35 at number 2 Alabama. We know it's already up to 38 in a lot of spots. I haven't looked today. It might even be different than that, but it was 38 as of yesterday when we talked about it. As I wrote, Ole Miss is averaging 5 points a game against Alabama the last 2 years. Alabama has scored more than 50 in both of those games. Alabama scored at least 37 4 straight years against the Rebels, dating back to that win for Ole Miss in 2015. 35, frankly, with no disrespect, it feels like a bargain right now.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it does. We're around the team so much, not comparatively, but compared to any other team. If the line was this and it was anybody else in the SEC, you go, hey, God, that's a lot of points. But we're seeing Ole Miss every day, and I think it's making us more likely to pick Alabama.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is basically the same line, my point, as Southern Miss last week, and we did at least think about that both directions.
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to decide whether I want to say something. I wasn't at the game Saturday, so I didn't get the vibe, so it's hard to... I was there Monday and Tuesday, and I don't know. I sensed frustration. I sensed something different. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought yesterday had a different feel to it. I don't know why. There was nothing tangible other than, I put this on the message board, we weren't asked who we wanted to talk to, and I thought that was weird. It hasn't happened. Maybe there was a reason for it. I don't know. I didn't ask. I'm saying this without asking any questions. However, I thought that was strange. I do not remember a time in past where we've not at least been asked who we wanted to talk to after practice.
No, I sense something.
Which we were going to say Plumlee. They knew that. Brought 2 players in without asking. It's fine. Jacquez Jones, Sam Williams. The funniest part of the whole deal was Jacquez did not know the name of Ole Miss's scout team quarterback. Because Brian Rippey was like, hey, who's playing Tua today? And he was like, oh, that guy, I don't know. And we were all laughing or whatever. And then, yeah, it's like, hey, is he left-handed? And he goes, I don't know. I'm here to stop the run. It's like, okay, fair enough. He will have 30 people in the stands this week, by the way. He's from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it was a little strange. Matt was fine. He answered questions. We didn't have a ton of questions, but I felt like everything was just a touch shorter this week. Just a little tighter.
I think there's some frustration with media right now, and I'm not sure why. I wasn't there Saturday. I don't know what happened. My guess is it's not really with media. My guess is that the beginning of some unhappiness with playing time and some things has started.
Mm-hmm. So
you can't keep everybody happy. There's a reason the transfer portal is packed, and Ole Miss is not immune to that situation.
Yeah. We'll actually get into that a little bit from the quarterback angle, just on how to navigate this week with Jeffrey. That's the majority of that. That here in a bit. Before we do that, I'll tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. All underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting that understands your market. A leader in condo financing, the float down option, and with rates as low as they've been in about 2 years. Good time to talk to Jason about that. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE@communitymtg.com.
We're also brought to you by Splinter Creek. It's a gated conservation community located 8 miles southwest of Oxford, 75 minutes from the Memphis airport. It's a gorgeous place. It's absolutely fantastic. 34 lakefront lots ranging in size from 2 to 25 acres, 650 acres of lakes, pine, and hardwood forest, 6 miles of private roads, well-maintained running, cycling, and hiking trails, so much more. They've got the North Lake, the South Lake, Partners Pond, which are the main streets of Splinter Creek. You owe it to yourself if you're thinking about moving to Oxford, thinking about retiring to Oxford. Head out to Splinter Creek. Check it out. SplinterCreekMS.com. It's operated by Tom Smith Land and Homes, so call one of their agents today, 601-898-2772, to set up your tour. If you're coming in next weekend, if you live in or around Oxford, the place to get your beer is Jackson Beer Company. 10 beer taps for sampling and growler fill. You can mix your own pack of beers from the single shelf with more than 350 beers to choose from. Ask about the Kegs to Go program. Text 51660. Text that number. Text JBEER to that number, JBEER. Get involved on their text program. You'll get special deals texted to you. 662-638-3642 is the number. It's located at 1801 Jackson Avenue West in Oxford. It's a little hard to find, a little hard to see, I should say. It's worth finding. It's absolutely the best place to buy beer in Oxford. It's not even close. Best place to get your jeans is Blue Delta Jeans. They were in Oklahoma City. I think today they're in I should have this in front of me. I lost it. I know they were – send them – here's the best way to find out. I think it's Atlanta, Oklahoma City, Austin, Birmingham, those kinds of places. They're all over the place. Send them an email, info at bluedeltajeans.com. Find out when they're coming to your neck of the woods, and then get yourself a private fitting. You'll love the product. It's a great time to check out the Gino. They're out in the open now. They're going to be making the first run around Halloween, so don't miss this opportunity. Reserve your spot in the first run of this great new fabric line from Blue Delta Jeans. My picks, as Chase mentioned, are up at Southern Craft Stove and Tap. Southern Craft Stove and Tap, located off Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue, places an emphasis on food and atmosphere, mixes the quality of fine dining with a come-as-you-are environment, featuring 30 craft beers and offering a high-quality selection of cuisine and libation. Southern Craft Stove and Tap has you covered for any occasion. Join them for lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, or have your favorites catered out. Catering orders placed online currently receive $25 off any order totaling $100 or more. So avoid the chaos of parking on the square. Head over and experience carefully crafted dishes with your favorite Southern ingredients. Southern Craft Stove and Tap. Again, Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue in Oxford.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy there on South Lamar in Oxford. With flu season quickly approaching, Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs and G&M have flu vaccines available with a $0 copay on most insurance plans. No one has time to wait in line for the overworked pharmacist at the chain drugstore, so stop by one of their locally owned pharmacies and let them take care of you, dedicated to getting you in and out as quickly and painlessly as possible. That is on the square in Holly Springs or on South Lamar in Oxford, 662-236-2222. And now we'll go to the phone and talk to Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey, good morning. We'll go over picks a little bit today. Got a couple different topics going on in the news. We'll open it up Ole Miss related though. Let's see. Matt Corral has a practice Tuesday or Wednesday. Ole Miss facing Alabama at 2:30. If you're Matt Luke, how do you handle the quarterback situation this weekend?
Ooh, boy. I don't know, because I did like what I saw from John Reese Plumlee, I'm also willing to acknowledge that he was in a favorable position to have success in that time frame because Cal was playing the clock at that point more than they were playing Ole Miss with a 2-score lead when he came in. And I do not want to diminish what he did, because I told Neil, and he can confirm this, I told Neil off the record, I thought the kid looked good because he was able to actually go through a progression, and he's significantly more accurate, but he's not small. And yes, he is a tremendous athlete. I mean, if you're going to go play center field, you can run a little bit, turns out. So it's a delicate balance, man, throwing this kid to the wolves. I mean, South Carolina did it with Tyler Helinski, and I think this is the question that you have to ask as a staff. Are we willing to roll with John Reese Plumlee and accept the consequences? Because Tyler Helinski, if you look over at South Carolina, Jake Bentley was going to Ryan Helinski, sorry. Yeah. With Ryan Helinski, Jake Bentley was obviously hurt for the year, and so that makes it a slightly different situation. But the moment that, when you decide to go this freshman route, and I am in favor of, hey man, if you think the kid's better, you should probably play who gives you think the best option. But I think there's certainly other things to consider with Corral, and it's not how he plays. It's more of attitude. It's loose cannon. It's, do we have an exit strategy? Because I do think if you're going to turn to Plumlee, you have to start working on a Corral exit strategy.
It feels like you got to play both of them, Tisdale and Plumlee, because if not, that allows you to be like, hey, look, Matt Corral's unhealthy, so we're just going to play both of the quarterbacks. And frankly, because I think once Corral's back 100%, they're going to play Corral, maybe no matter what Plumlee looks like this weekend. Neil, right. You agree there?
And I think that's something that's what I'm saying. I think I agree with you. I think playing both is probably a better strategy, because it doesn't matter who you're going to play. You're going to beat this weekend. So don't create further headaches for yourself down the line. Give Plumlee's already got one game. So, Tisdale's got 4, an extra game. So 4 total. I play both. And, I really hammer home the fact that we're trying to make the best of a situation. Our quarterback's hurt. Until I'm ready to say, because my opinion is if you turn to Plumlee, you have to have decided that even if Corral were healthy, Plumlee's our guy, and we have to develop an exit strategy.
This is where people don't understand what I'm saying when I say that the wins and losses right now don't matter as much, in my opinion, as a lot of people are making them matter. They're looking at it, and you have to understand there's always a disconnect between the fan and the non-fan. There's always a disconnect. There's nothing that can be done about it. It's an emotional thing. I get it. That being said, you're exactly right. You bail on Matt Corral right now in any shape, form, or fashion, I think he leaves. You don't know what you have right now. And the thing is, Corral's not been great. But, guys, he hasn't been awful. And he was okay Saturday. He was okay. He really was. They lost that game because center guard, they got beat all day. They lost that game because of a bad snap. They lost that game because of a missed 29-yard field goal. They lost that game because of Elijah Moore illegal procedure. There was a lot of stuff. Now, did Corral make mistakes? Absolutely. Missed a wide open. I think Elijah Moore in the end zone should have been a touchdown. Bad throw. But he's done some things okay. And Plumlee came in, and made a play with his feet. And then Plumlee came in and made a bunch of throws and got a jump ball pass. And I'm not downplaying Plumlee at all. He might end up being the answer. But based on that 4 minutes or whatever of action that I saw, I'm not ready to declare him the guy. And so you got to be really careful if you're Matt Luke and Ole Miss, because the fan base wants it to be Plumlee. He's a Mississippi kid. He's a two-sport guy. He's going to play baseball. He's a lot more clean-cut looking than Corral. All of these things, you can't convince me otherwise. The fan base wants this to be Plumlee. They want it to be Plumlee over Corral. I'm not convinced, based on what I've seen, that Corral's not the better player.
Well, look here, guys. It goes in both directions. I think that's why I said play Tisdale, too. I mean, Tisdale won the number 2 job out of camp.
Well,
he was the number 2. So you're potentially disgruntling him on the other side.
Chase, stop right here. This is going to be my question.
Yeah.
Do you buy that narrative that the only reason why Plumlee went in was because of a situation?
Yes and no.
My answer is I do not.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially they thought he had gotten the wind knocked out of him. I think initially they thought he was probably going to go back in. Plumlee comes in, makes that big run, and then he scores. And then I think they probably thought, well, why not? And then when they figured out that Corral couldn't come back in, I don't know. I'd love to really have been inside the conversation there.
Well, I just don't buy that the reason why they went with Plumlee over Tisdale was because of a situation.
The only reason I sort of do is because it was third down. It was 3rd and 10. You're probably going to run one play. You're probably, if you don't get it, you're coming off the field right there. it just kind of is what it is for one play, because Plumlee has had a package every week, which probably was a lot of the crap that he I don't mean that in a negative way, that he ran as far as actually moving his feet and all that stuff. So there's a possibility there. However, in saying that, yeah, like you mentioned, the next time you get the ball, you've got to run a drive. I mean, you got to get down the field. You're in a 2-minute drill, and you went with someone. I mean, it worked. For the most part, it worked. But you went with somebody who's only been here a month or so. You went with somebody who had not won the job out of camp instead of your actual backup. From Tisdale's point of view only, I get how you'd probably be a little annoyed by that. And I'm not saying he is. I'm not trying to create something. I'm just saying that's the thing to manage here as they move forward.
I'm not trying to start anything, I promise.
Yeah,
I'm saying I don't buy the idea. I don't buy the idea that it was simply situational. I think they know, okay, because here's the other thing you have to remember. That game was still technically winnable. I mean, I think if Cal had been up 4 scores, then I think you would have seen Tisdale.
Well, the thing, too, Matt Luke managed the game for those last 2 drives. So even on 3rd and 10, he knew he had to score on that possession to have a chance to win that football game. So I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit. What were you saying, Neil?
If that's the case, then number one, it allows me to make another depth chart joke. You can ignore them because they had Tisdale listed as the number 2. And if that's the case, then Plumlee was really the number 2.
Well, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think it was like last year where Matt Corral, they were trying to redshirt him. But, you know what I mean? Like, when he was forced into action, that's who they were going with. Like, sometimes, like, had something really happened to Ramiro Miller in 1999.
2000.
No, in 1999, when Eli was redshirting.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
When Eli was technically redshirting, like, had something happened to him game 1, I'm willing to bet Eli Manning was going to be the starter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was... Sometimes you have a plan for a kid, because, as we pointed out with Plumlee, while he is he's an undeniable athlete, I mean, I think they list him at like 183. I mean, he's very small, and you're getting ready to go into a stretch in which you are going to play some big boys and big boy football. And
not to interrupt, but what you're getting at right there with the way he plays is also my one. When someone says, "What's your criticism of Corral?" It's that. It's his inability so far to understand, and part of this is being a young guy, and part of it, I think, is the way he's wired. He took hits on Saturday that you have to advise your quarterback not to take. He tried to put that game on his shoulders in the 3rd quarter, and he made plays with his feet, but he took hits in the process, and I don't think that's part of the plan when you have Phillips and Ely and Connor. I don't think that's part of the plan for the quarterback to get hit that much.
I'm with you. And so I think we would all like to think that this is, in college football in particular, that it is a meritocracy and that your best option plays no matter what. I just think there are several other factors to consider with Matt Corral. And I do agree with you, Neil. And, I've not exactly been high on Corral, but I'm not going to sit here and act as if, he's unquestionably not as good as John Reese Plumlee at this point.
Right. That's my thing is 4 games. I mean, if we're going to get to a place where we're eliminating guys as potential players after 4 games of their freshman year, we have a whole lot of guys getting eliminated. I mean, Ole Miss's problems, Corral's not been great, but their problems offensively do not start and end with Matt Corral. That's my point. And even the other day, against a defense that most people say is a pretty decent defense, they rolled up 500 and some odd yards of offense. They did.
I mean, I agree with your general premise in that the result, the way the game ended, distracted people really from all the mistakes Ole Miss made to lose that game significantly before that final drive.
Exactly. The fact that people were talking about an official's call, about whether a play should have been stopped, all of that stuff really, in many ways, kind of took everybody off the hook. That was an eminently winnable game that got lost for a number of reasons. Frankly, Matt Corral's play is down the list of reasons they lost that game. I'm not trying to be like Team Corral here. I don't think it's fair to pin much of that game on him.
Well, look, unless there's a diagnosis that we're not aware of, I think Matt Corral is going to start against Vanderbilt in 2 weeks and basically play the whole game, in my opinion. I think this is a 1 week deal on how to manage it against a team you're not beating.
I think this is kind of a pragmatic. Remember when we used to hypothetically make the joke of, would you rest Bo Wallace against Alabama and save him for the games that matter? I think this is kind of a hypothetical version of that.
I don't think Matt Corral is playing Saturday.
No. I'm saying like excuse me. I think this is kind of a pragmatic version. Hey, he's banged up. And as if anyone's ever had bruised ribs, like, I'm not questioning the kid's toughness. I'm saying I think this was a decision made by this is not worth it. And we're kind of sort of punting, if you will.
Oh, there's no question that if there was a way for them to wave the proverbial white flag about 2:36 on Saturday afternoon where Nick Saban could see it, I think they'd do it. But you're not winning the game. I mean, there's 0% chance. People go, well, if you play, there's a chance. There's no chance.
Take a break in our talk with Jeffrey to tell you about Mastercut's Lawn and Landscape, premium lawn care throughout northern Mississippi, but a lot more as well. They build custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces with paver patios, forestry mulching, and much more. The path to your dream backyard easier than you think with Mastercuts. That's 662-607-7773 or go mastercuts.com.
We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. As Chase said, the latest Mind on My Money podcast is up. It's sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. They're based in Madison, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states as well. What they do is they provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. The CEO, Stacy Wall, was our guest on the latest Mind on My Money podcast. You should listen to it, learn a lot about their business. Also get some ideas about how they can help you. It's pintrust.com, PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson, which was named as the best hotel in Mississippi. Congratulations to them. I haven't been to every hotel in Mississippi, but I've been to that one, and it is awesome. You'll love it, too. It's right there in downtown Jackson. It's home to Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson, and also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. It's a terrific place. It's a really fun place to hang out. Great cocktail menu, curated wine list. The food is fantastic. You should check it out this weekend. It's Estelle inside the Westin Jackson in downtown Jackson. Podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. No matter what trip you're thinking of, a trip with the guys, a girls trip, a anniversary trip, a birthday trip, whatever the case may be, headed to Ireland, headed to the Caribbean, get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. What you do is you give him a call, you give him an email, give him some parameters, give him a budget. He'll give you options, and no, you don't have to live near Memphis to take advantage of his services. Call him at 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first book trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. You're not winning the game.
I don't even know what a game. I guess I'm trying to I'm even trying to play out the hypothetical that I don't believe in. I suppose if Tua gets knocked out in the first series,
I mean, tons of turnovers, and Bama's defense is just kind of average. I mean, it's not worth talking about, but that's what it would look like.
I think you would have to hit, at the bare minimum, something along the lines of 10 to 15 fluke plays, whether it be turnovers, big plays that result in points, either way. I think it would have to be one of those types of situations, and I think that is also predicated on Tua getting hurt. I do not think
Ole Miss's defense is so bad in pass coverage because of a lack of athleticism that what's the backup kid's name?
Jones.
I think Jones could throw for 450. I think Tua
Herbert did, or Barbers, whatever.
I think Tua could not play, and Alabama could put 50 up. To me, that's where when people talk about wins and losses and stuff, here's the thing. Now that the book's out on this defense, and it's out, Memphis didn't have the quarterback to do it. That kid can't throw downfield. Every team that has a quarterback who can throw downfield, that's the path to beating them. You can get big yards downfield against this defense, and that will continue to be the case all season.
And that'll be the story next week, because this week, Judy and those guys and Ruggs, those guys are going to get by everybody. They're just going to put up their numbers, so we're not talking about it as much. The question next week is going to be, do you make the Vanderbilt kid look like Chase Garbers again? That's going to be the question next week. Is that kid good enough to do that?
Is it Riley Neal? Is that his name?
He's horrific.
Compare him to Garbers. Compare him to the Memphis quarterback.
He is closer to Ben Hicks and Brady White than he is to Garbers. Well, I mean, Garbers can at least. Garbers isn't good in the sense of I don't think he knows what he's looking at. But if you let him sit back there and throw, I think he is a good enough thrower that he could do what he did on Saturday.
He got comfortable on Saturday and got into a rhythm. I thought before he hurt the ankle, he was really playing good football.
Yes, and I think a lot of that. I mean, I thought another big issue, and I know, Neil, you pointed it out. It wasn't even so much like the lack of finishing pass rushes. For the most part, Ole Miss's pass rush was non-existent on Saturday.
Well, when they got to him, they missed him.
But, I mean, think about how many times he sat back there, hopped up and down, hopped up and down, hopped up and down. Like, he had a significant amount of time to throw.
He had a lot of time.
An offensive line that was, missing 3 starters?
Yeah, and, Ole Miss had interference calls that I thought were good calls. I know there's this temptation, and I've done it too, to go, they're so much better coached on defense, and they are. They are so much better coached on defense. It's not even close. McIntyre's done a really good job, but they're not super talented over there.
Well, I don't remember. I basically do this podcast with y'all each and every week. This was the main question that I kept posing to you guys, and I wasn't doing it to annoy you, and it was a legitimate question that I had. I did not doubt coming into the season that Ole Miss would be better coached on both sides of the football. And I know there are some out there, one of my buddies in Chase and R's group chat that refuses to accept this idea that Ole Miss is somehow not better coached because they want it to be all Matt Luke's fault. But I cannot explain to you when you watch them play how much better coached they are, or at least I guess I should say from my perspective. I happen to think my perspective is fairly educated. And I just wasn't convinced that it was going to be the difference in 5 wins, 7 wins. I think coaching in the end is what takes a team and maybe wins a game. But more importantly, I think coaching is what keeps teams from losing games where they're the more talented team.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you how much I think McIntyre has impacted so far. I think if Wesley McGriff was the defensive coordinator, they lose to Southeastern Louisiana because I don't think they ever stop him.
I agree with you completely.
And the other day, instead of holding Cal to 28, I think they give up 42 to 49, and it's a blowout. I think he's been.
I'm also not convinced that Ole Miss would have scored a touchdown.
Tremendous job.
I also am not convinced that Ole Miss would have scored a touchdown with Longo. Like I think another place in the margins where Rodriguez has helped, and I understand he's not exactly the most popular person on your board. I think they look so much more competent in the red zone. And I know they settled for some field goals, but teams do settle for field goals. But they appear to me to have a significantly better plan when they get into the red zone to try to score touchdowns.
I agree. I think you have to give Cal some credit. Their red zone defense was pretty good. Their secondary guys are solid. The Weaver kid's a hell of a player. He's kind of everywhere. He's not your prototypical middle linebacker that we're used to seeing, but he's impactful on the field. He's very smart. He makes plays. And they made plays. You have to give them credit for that. I think they're better. But I keep coming back to this isn't me making fun of fans because I do this as a Cub fan, right? I watch Albert Almora and I think, man, it's just it's going to happen. And at some point you have to acknowledge, you know what? It's not going to happen. I watch Ian Happ, and I keep thinking, man, because every once in a while he'll hit one 460 feet, and I'm like, here we go. And then we're right back to striking out on the high fastball, and at some point you have to go. It's just he's not – if he didn't wear my team's laundry, I wouldn't think twice about him.
Right, but you also have to consider the alternative, Neil, that if he had the birds on the bat on his chest, he would hit.
There's probably some truth to that, and right now I'm not in the mental place to talk about it. But –
well, we believe
But with Ole Miss, there's a tendency to look at these guys and go, he wears my uniform, I know he's good. McIntyre can't make defensive backs faster. He can't make interior defensive linemen more explosive. Rodriguez can't make interior offensive linemen bigger, stronger, and more powerful. And that's what's getting them beat. He can't make Matt Corral a redshirt junior instead of a redshirt freshman. Those are the problems.
Well, and you can't make Matt Corral apparently understand that he's not Patrick Mahomes, and these arm slots that he's trying to throw from are significantly hurting him.
Yeah, and if he's still doing that a year from now, well, then it might be that's who he is. I'm sure we don't see it, but I'm sure that stuff is being coached. That stuff's being said in film. Hey, man, you can't do that there. That's not your play there. And they're trying to get what's happening in the film room and in the meeting room to the practice field and then to the game field when the emotions are kicking in. And anybody who's ever played sports knows that you can't simulate a game in practice. Can't do it. Can't make it happen. And so he's getting into games and the adrenaline jacks up and now the other team's talking trash and he's engaged in it, and in the heat of the moment he's trying so damn hard to make a play that he's hurting his team at times.
Yeah, and I'm not here to bag on Corral. I was never convinced. I knew what that roster looked like, and I was never convinced that coaching alone was going to all of a sudden put this team. Coaching alone was all of a sudden going to put this team in a position where they were going to be a bowl team and whatnot.
No, I can tell you, Jeffrey, talking to people on the staff, they'll be the first to tell you it's about we got to get players. You got to get players. That's why when people do this fire everybody thing in the middle of the year, it's okay. So if you do that, and listen, I keep coming across, I know, as the guy that's defending Luke and saying, hey, you should just be patient and whatever. I don't necessarily know. I don't. My point is this: is if you fire everybody and sabotage a recruiting class, bail on a recruiting class, you're giving up the one very definite thing that you need moving forward, and that's players. You need players. In my opinion, the most prudent thing for them to do, and I've said this all along, and I'm not convinced it's going to happen. I do think it's the thing they should do. Now, if there's some super coach out there who's on the phone going, "Hey, I'm ready and I've got a plan and I'm coming. I'm willing to be there the day after Thanksgiving." Well, maybe that's a different thing. But we've all talked about this Chancellor and AD stuff. I think the prudent plan is let him finish the year, finish the recruiting class, go in the next season with these players a year older. You're going to find out super quick, if you look at the schedule, whether you've made progress or not. And if you don't make progress in 2020, it becomes obvious. But now you have 2 years of non-probation recruiting as a foundation and a bridge for the next guy, as opposed to doing something where this becomes a blown-up class and you don't have the foundation that you need for the next guy. And he comes in day one going, "Oh, that's a rebuild."
I completely agree with you. I think this is a fascinating debate. I think it's a fascinating reality, I think, maybe, that we're going to start seeing more and more of, because when you decide to fire a coach now, if you do it in season, you're giving up on 80 to 90% of a recruiting class, and let's be real, you're giving up almost entirely on the recruiting class. And I can cite 3 examples, all of which this listening audience has some familiarity with. Jeremy Pruitt was hired in 2017. If you look at that 2017 recruiting class, there's not a lot of presence of those guys on the field. Matt Luke's interim year, 2017. I also think there's something to be said for that. If you look at the 2017 class, there's not a ton of representation on the field. I'll get back to the Matt Luke point. Arkansas, same thing with Chad Morris. You look at the 2017 kids, most of them not on the field. Now with Matt Luke, here's where the somewhat of the lesson is. Because he got the interim tag, he was able to salvage more of the 2018 recruiting class. And then if you start looking at the 18 and 19 recruiting classes, those guys are showing up on the field a lot. And a lot of them so far have looked like they belong on the field. And I think what is getting lost in all of the emotion of you just can't stand to see the product on the field is, okay, well, if say Tennessee decides to fire Pruitt, well, that means Tennessee is going to have 2 out of their last 3 recruiting classes that are going to be essentially non-existent on a field, probably ever. It's really tough to overcome.
It's impossible to overcome it, so it just becomes a vicious cycle unless you can go out and get the coach that immediately excites that recruiting class, fan base, all that stuff. And, hey, man, as we've witnessed, that's pie in the sky. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time it doesn't. I mean, it happened for Georgia. They wanted Kirby Smart. They wanted Kirby Smart right then, and they got him, and God knows it's worked. It hadn't worked for many other people.
No, and I'm not convinced that Kirby Smart – I don't think Kirby Smart falls into this category of if Kirby Smart were at Illinois, he'd be winning at Illinois.
Oh, I agree with that completely. I'm just saying.
In fairness, I also – one of these other things that this narrative has really started to bother me. You know how much I respect Nick Saban. I don't like this narrative of he could win anywhere. I think he could win anywhere he chooses. But I'm not convinced that Nick Saban could go and take, let's say, I'm not convinced that Nick Saban could go and take Iowa State and set up the network and whatnot and have the amount of players that he needed in 5 years to win a title. I'm just not convinced. I think there's so much more that goes into it than simply knowing how to recruit and knowing how to put together a program. Like,
I'll take Ole Miss as an example. Let's say Nick Saban, January, whatever, the day after Alabama plays for the title again, decides, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm done here. I've done all I can do here. I've got my statue. I've broken the records. This is mundane. I'm going to go to Ole Miss.
I want a real challenge.
How long would it take him at Ole Miss to make Ole Miss a national title contender? Minimum of 3 years.
Yes, I mean, at the absolute minimum.
Absolute minimum 3 years, and probably more like 5.
And I'm not even convinced he could do it.
Oh, I think he could do it. I think Ole Miss.
Okay, but here's my deal. It's one thing. It's one.
Miss to an Access Bowl. Nick Saban could win a national championship.
Right, but there's a big difference between being a true national title contender and being able to go to an Access Bowl because of conference affiliation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But my point is if.
But hang on, hear me out. So my point being, it's one thing to know how to do the operation. It's another thing to, like, if you're Saban, you're not making, you're not writing the check, if you will. You're not funding it. Like, it is, for a lack of a better term, you're the CEO of a corporation that's publicly traded, and if you can't spend what you don't have, and so, like, you can't just snap your fingers and say, okay, well, I know what it takes. I think this is the problem that a lot of Saban quote unquote disciples have. And I think this is also why Kirby Smart is having success. A lot of these guys know what it looks like to get the thing done, but they get to all these places and they go, well, we can't do that. The reason why I think Kirby's had success, and even Jimbo has had success, is those two guys went to places that said, here's how we do it. And they all could fund it and get it done. I'm just not convinced that Saban could sit there at Ole Miss, snap his fingers and say, like, I think he would know how to go about it, but I don't know if he could execute it.
Interesting topic, if nothing else.
But, before I go, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I think it would take him time because I think building a network at Ole Miss is a much heavier. But it's not. It's hard to even. It's hard to even put it in terms where it makes sense for people who would understand it. There's such a commitment at Alabama from a structural standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. It's just so different, and in many ways, it's not healthy. I mean, having lived it. It's not healthy. It's not.
But the bigger point that I would make is that they have more.
Oh, yeah, they have definitely more. I believe Nick Saban is so good at what he does that he could go to any of the top 30 programs in the country, and if you gave him half a decade, he could have them in the playoffs. That's how big of a fan of Nick Saban I am.
Have a good day, Jeff. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thanks to Jeffrey for his time this morning. The podcast also brought to you by Visit Oxford. VisitOxfordMS.com is the website. Bookmark it. Keep it close to see everything going on in town this week and all week, especially when there's a home football game that Saturday with all the different events and things on the events page, including the South Talks Glaciers continuing today, Tupelo Room, the Bernard Observatory, Thacker Mountain Radio Hour tonight, 6 to 7:30 at Off Square Books, and plenty to do as the calendar turns to October as well next week. So find out where to eat, where to stay, what to do and see, and the events page. Again, that's visitoxfordms.com/events.
Also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent, big part of Savannah Square, a new 9-acre development 7/10 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square. If you're coming up next weekend, I'm sure Harry will be out there at Savannah Square. They have multiple properties that are within different stages of development. You should check them out. You can check out the model home as well, 215 William Street. I've been to the model home. It's great. It's so close to the Oxford downtown square, as I mentioned, also close to the Midtown Shopping Center. So if you're thinking about relocating to Oxford, again, retiring to Oxford, probably an option you should look at. SavannahSquareOxford.com or 662-801-5621. Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank. OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. And when you call OUB, you speak directly with a live person. No 10 buttons to push, no 5-minute wait. They've got Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account around. And they also have a commercial checking account paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account. To learn more, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Score big points with your kids by signing them up for Oxford Park Commission Youth Basketball. Registration now open for leagues serving ages 5 to 15. The cost to play is just $50 per child. Discounts are available for families with multiple players. The deadline to sign up is October the 4th. Visit oxfordparkcommission.com for more details or to sign up.
So getting back into Neal's picks a little bit here, I think, we always do the A&M thing, and that's low-hanging fruit. It's always funny. I think Florida might have been my favorite this week as I was going through. They are, I don't know what they're doing. They're like, Congo line or something, and the captions, I'm not sure what's happening in this photo, but given the state of the Florida program, I would guess at least 2 felonies are happening here. I can't figure it out. Are they dancing?
I'm not sure.
They play Towson this weekend.
I like their chances.
It's at 3 o'clock on SEC Network. That's fine. Let's see. Mississippi State plus 11 at number 7 Auburn, 6 p.m. ESPN. I keep picking against Auburn every week, and I keep losing every week, so I'm just picking the Tigers blindly this week.
You've got Auburn covering the line.
I do.
I do too.
Well, yeah, like I said, I picked A&M, Auburn covered. I picked Oregon, Auburn covered. I'm tired of losing, so I'm just picking Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn's been good to me so far in the picks. I like this team. I like them a little more all the time. I know offensively they're not dynamic, but they're getting it done.
They're so good in that front 7 defensively.
And I'm going to give Malzahn some credit here. He wants so badly to be cute on offense. And he still does some of it, but he's dialed it back. He's doing just enough to give him just enough of his cute drug that he doesn't have like a breakdown on the sideline. But he's not going so overboard with it that he overdoses and gets everybody killed. Letting that defense win, and that defense is good.
Yeah, State's going to have a hard time driving on them, I feel like.
Well, yeah, and the quarterback makes things happen with his feet, but you're not making that happen against this front 7. You'll get yourself hurt.
And then not a real big slate this weekend. Some different teams are off. Kentucky plus 4 at South Carolina, 6:30 SEC Network. I simply took the points because these are 2 teams that are inconsistent, kind of unpredictable. They've got injuries everywhere. I have no idea. Columbia can be a tough place to play at night.
It can. This is one. I said I'll take the home team, and it's just 4 points. I'll lay them.
Okay.
That's about the extent of my research. Again, it was a traumatic week at the Palace, and we take the games in chronological order. And once we got to that one, we were pretty exhausted.
So it's something we're going to talk about with Jeffrey. We didn't get there, so we'll do it now. California is going to sign the Fair Pay to Play Act into existence this week. California Governor Gavin Newsom is going to do that. It starts in 2023. It's gotten Mark Emmert's ire up, as you would imagine. He called it the single biggest issue in his almost decade on the job, which that is correct, just not in the way that he'd like it to make it out to be.
We're just now coming off a massive FBI investigation of college basketball.
But, whoa. Said it would be an existential threat to the collegiate model. I'm reading here. The NCAA Board of Governors told California legislatures that such a law is unconstitutional and could render college athletes ineligible at those 58 NCAA schools in that state. California legislators have responded sternly. Bill sponsor Sidney Comlager Dove said NCAA don't threaten us. California do not threaten us. The whole notion that our letter is threatening is ridiculous, Emmert said. Here's one of the problems that will exist. It wasn't a threat. It was, look, folks, we can't have one state operating differently than the others from a rule standpoint. He also said he would like to see the California schools tone down some of the rhetoric moving forward. Let's see. He said it's a huge issue, as big as a one as we've ever seen in modern times. Another Emmert quote here as I'm reading. Let's see. There's one more that I kind of liked. Here we go. You've got 50 different states with 50 different labor laws. If this happens, if you move into what are in essence labor negotiations, you have to do that state by state, and it just falls apart completely.
I feel like I've covered this from last
I know. I'm just telling you that's the update.
It feels like such a simple thing to me.
Well, here's what's funny: This is the most pompous quote to me, even though I understand what he's saying and there is some truth to it. My personal view is folks in general think that every student athlete is going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. One or two will be making some significant amount of money. Nobody else will. How dare you say what's significant to a college athlete? Just because Tua Tagovailoa makes $500,000 and thousands of other people maybe make $200 a month, that's still $200 a month. It's America. Make what you can make. It's going to be different. Life isn't fair. Okay, move on.
Well, and this insistence that it's going to upset the nature of intercollegiate athletics, no one's able to explain to me how. The top athletes are getting paid anyway. The majority of people who play sports won't get endorsements. They won't make money off their likeness. I mean, I make lots of ULM jokes, so let's take ULM as an example. It's because it's a good example, because there's lots of ULMs, right?
Sure.
How many football players at ULM are going to get an endorsement? None? How many little boys are buying ULM jerseys with a specific number because that player's the star player? And no, I couldn't name a ULM player right now if my life depended on it. I mean, we're not talking about any money. Scraps, if anything. So it doesn't really change that kind of thing. Now let's take Memphis, for example. James Wiseman next year is producing money for the University of Memphis because of his name and likeness. Someone tell me why he shouldn't be able to cash in on that. James Wiseman is only at Memphis because the rules don't allow him to go straight to the NBA. James Wiseman has everything to risk and nothing to gain by playing a year at the University of Memphis. Why should he not be allowed to be compensated? Someone tell me why.
Yeah.
Because he's getting a college degree? He's not there for a college degree. Truth is, James Wiseman could go make more money right now than he'd ever make with a college degree. I'm sending my kid to college right now. She's a freshman in college, in the business school. The plan, the hope, the dream, right, is that she graduates in 4 years or 5 years if she does the MBA thing. And she gets a job in some company. I don't know, what's the starting salary? $75,000? That would be really good, probably. Probably be excellent, I'm guessing. Do the math. If someone offered her the opportunity right now to say, hey, you can leave Arkansas right now and you can go. I use this example because I saw that they were at a job fair that the Walton School of Business had last night. Hershey's. Okay? She'd go to Hershey's and get a job making $5 million a year. What advice would I give her? Go get the money. You can come back to college another time if you need it, for whatever reason. But if someone came to her and said, hey, we think you're a great student with a great future, we want to endorse you, there's nothing stopping her as a college student from having an endorsement. This student's progress brought to you by Tyson. I don't know, whatever. I just think the whole thing is stupid. I think Emmert's an idiot. I think the comments that he made yesterday are ridiculous. I agree with what Jeffrey said before we hit the button. I think the NCAA is losing this. I think more and more states are jumping in. There is a public consensus behind it, a political consensus behind it. I think it's going to happen. And I'm frankly a little surprised that the NCAA is fighting it so hard.
Yeah. Just one little quick note as we're finishing up here, just because I thought this was kind of interesting. We know the Dolphins really suck. We've talked about it a good bit through Tunzel. Reading here from Bill Barnwell this morning. Through 3 weeks, the Miami Dolphins are the worst team in NFL history. Brian Flores' team has been outscored 133-16 for a point differential of -117. That's 20 points worse than the previous record holder, the 1950 Colts. But at least those Colts briefly led in one of their 3 blowout losses. Miami hasn't made it out of the first half of the first quarter with even a tie. It has scored 1 touchdown in 3 weeks, which isn't an NFL record, but it's allowed 18 touchdowns over that same time frame, which is. And now they're not trying to be competitive, they're tanking, but wow.
Yeah, they are tanking for Tua.
Yes. They're well aware of what they're doing.
And in many ways, I respect that.
Tanks don't always work.
They don't. But if you're bound and determined to tank, well, then tank.
Yeah. The model only gives them a 13% chance of actually going 0-16, but hey.
Having watched them,
I don't know who they're beating.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to play one hell of a bad football game.
Their schedule's only the 22nd toughest in the league the rest of the way. I mean, they have played probably 3 playoff teams. They played the Ravens, the Patriots, and the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah, those 3 teams are all going to the playoffs.
So, anyway, I don't know. Just thought. Plenty at rebelgrove.com as we move forward. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. Appreciate Jeffrey. Got a lot of stuff going on, so we'll have content too, and we'll talk to you then.